Okay, let's scan the audience. We got 1, 2, John and Lonnie over there, and then Chris in the chair here, and the camera person.
What I'd like to talk to everybody about is a kind of interesting concept that most people don't look at, which is not unusual for me in the first place. I'm sure you're all familiar with the concept of current events. All right, can you give me one? Give me an example of a current event by chance? Anybody?
Well, border crisis.
Border crisis, okay. Border crisis. Border crisis is an election issue that goes around this country 7 ways from Sunday. Basically, that's what that's about. Anybody else? Something else? How about officers been shot? I believe somebody brought that up a couple days
Police
ago.
brutality.
I brought it up already.
Police brutality, they're raising crime bills. That police officer got shot, they're
No, it was a police officer that chased down a suspect.
chased down a suspect.
Never found out why though.
All these things that go on that everybody lists as current events, to kind of shock you a little bit, is they're not current events. What these are designed for, and I'm not sure how many people are aware of this, and very few are, a newscast or news company is a business. It is not a news reporting agency. It is designed under the premises to create an environmental structure for $1. Plain and simple. When you see them come on talking about how a vitamin is going off beat, it's because of a company, which I cannot mention companies' names, basically turn around and want this vitamin away from this particular market because their drug product, is being pushed by doctors and local hospitals and stuff around the area. If they come up with like cop shootings or they're showing something specific, I mean, you watch news a lot, let's say we're in Texas here, how much have you really heard about Fifth Ward lately? You haven't. Do you know why? Because Fifth Ward is becoming a upclass neighborhood now.
Yeah,
They're buying a lot of the property out there. So Fifth Ward's off limits to what news companies do. Less than 30% of what the news actually does doesn't have a purpose. It is actually fillers. And that's what it is. Anytime you watch a newscast around the world, don't care what it is, when it is, or how it is, those current events are not actually current. Now, what does this have to do? Because we're supposed to talk about current events. We're supposed to talk about how these current events affect and so forth and so on. And unfortunately, that's the truth. Their effectiveness is to get you to believe or design an idea in your head to when you're doing an election, when you're doing a concept of move, when you're doing a concept of where you want to put your money or investments. How many times you hear the news come on, oh, Dow Jones dropped through da-da-da-da-da-da. Well, it's because it dropped for a reason. Not just economic structures, but because they're trying to get people to come in and help, to find out where it went, find out all the people that do have money, because a lot of people just use their brokers. They don't do things on their own. When they talk about Dow Jones being super, super good and everything's going great, it's usually in major finance companies, I can't mention any names again, but they look like animals, will want more people to come in. They will pay for these stories to be run. If you really want to know what's currently going on in your area that will be true current events, I have some suggestions for you. Suggestion one is never look at the front page. Front page is bought and paid for. Plain and simple, get it out of your mind. Anything sitting there, there's a reason for it. Okay? It is an advertisement. Page 2. Never look at page 2, because page 2 basically is trying to get all the things of all different people that they want to do something with. The page you want to look at is 3 through 12. Don't get into the one ad sections or anything like that. If you're ever going to one ads and you're starting to read news and it says look at such and it takes you to one ads, it's designed to do that. Everything they do for current events has a purpose. And if you look at the concept of purpose, you'll start finding out what true current events are. In other words, let's say they're talking about gangs and stuff on television for the last 3 or 4 days. Well, you can almost bet there's either a bill coming up or the mayor's getting ready to instigate some kind of law and order for the county or the state, whatever the case may be, and you'll see her story of what they're doing on page 4, which gives you the understanding of why that's being run on page 1. Would everybody agree that there's gang activity every day?
Yeah, absolutely.
So when we see it, oh, it's not newsworthy. Well, who determines if it's newsworthy? If it's newsworthy, and that means there's a discussion and decision of whether that should go in front of the television. Would you not agree with that? Mm-hmm. Therefore, there is someone who is dictating what you actually see on the television, including through election time or anything else. They always talk about smear campaigns. I love those. And the great part is they'll do a great smear campaign on page 1 because it's what? Bought and paid for. But on page 4 they do the retraction. You ever wonder why? Because page 4 is where the real news starts. And when you start looking at these things, whether it's cartoons that they have in there, all these are politically connected. If you start looking at all these other considerations that are around for all the things that you're trying to understand or value about your office, your party, your company, or your home, never ever look what's on television. Use it as a basis to find out where you really need to look. If they talk on the air that something's going on in Hoop and Holler, for example, there's a reason for it. Start looking at your county employees, county officials, and so forth, what they're trying to do. Because they're trying to instigate a point of fear. And as long as that point of fear is in place, guess what? You're going to do exactly what they want because they just motivated you into doing it. So current events is not really current events. Current events is a motivational tool for you to go and do the things you need to do, or at least they feel that you need to do. Current events is actually looking at what they show you and researching why they're showing it to you. And then you'll see what the true current events are. And that's my point about what current events should be. And are, to this date, as of about 20 years ago. Any questions?
Would you say that it was more of the media using, you said fear, but it's more of a control issue, would you say?
Control is one they never want to control, and you got to understand, it's the majority structure they look at. They don't have to control one person or even
No
100
thought
people.
control, mass thought control, maybe?
It is. It also creates confusion. A lot of times they want you not to be understanding of what's going on. So they'll put something on the television that'll look very, like, I'm sure you all remember the concept of going on in Georgia about the cop who shot the kid on the porch.
Yeah.
There's been 3 different sightings and stories that have come on television. I can't say which ones they are because this isn't a deal we can do that with. But the point is, they showed where this kid was a repeat offender. They showed where he was violent. They showed where he actually robbed a store. Okay? But yet, those 3 things were put on the back burners while the front one stayed on front page. Cop killed the kid. No reason to kill the kid. Yes?
White cop, black kid.
The point is,
Unarmed.
what are they doing? They're pushing the concept of breaking the budgets of the local police departments so they can put them in a statewide structure. It's been going on for years. You ever look up the concept of constables, why Texas is the only state in the country who actually pushes the consideration of constables, you'll find out that the only person who can arrest the President of the United States is a constable,
Wow.
a JP.
Gamewood.
Huh?
Gamewood.
The bottom line is, every time you see these stories on television, they're not the current event. What the current event is what you research into it to find out what they mean by what they showed you.
What do you think the Ebola is behind that?
Well, there's been rumors about morgues being, mobile morgues being brought into the state of Texas, for example. A lot of other states are doing the same thing. But you also got to realize they're pushing vaccines like there's no tomorrow. They really are. And if you notice, the last 3 newscasts they've had in regards to the Ebola scenario is a vaccine is coming. That's their exact words. A vaccine is coming. Who benefits from the vaccine? The vaccine.
Whoever they
Medical.
The drug companies. Drug companies. So they're going to keep that going because now everybody has a terrifying fear, and the truth is the Ebola scare is not that large. If you look at the number of people in this world, in this country, in the United States, they have less than 30 cases.
No, but it profits the pharmaceutical companies for everybody to go get a shot, so.
And the doctors are going
And those
into
are
it,
the
and
ones
so
you're
forth and
saying,
so
like
on,
the pharmaceutical
doing
companies.
checkups, I got a sore on my arm, it doesn't
Yeah.
look right. All kinds of things come from this. And the thing is, again, if you look behind the scenes of this so-called current event, you'll start finding things where Eli Lilly's trying to go through Congress, for example. We may have to blank that out, I apologize. Is going through Congress to get another law passed for certain vaccines and stuff.